The biggest thing is that if the WNBA wants to avoid being a one-woman show, they need to start thinking about the long term and consider bringing in some solid players who can really contribute, regardless of who you're guarding. Many black women in the league are upset that this white woman came in and is receiving all this attention. Rookies have had a great season, and it's not just Caitlin and Angel Rhea Jackson. Other rookies are killing it this year. If they play their cards right, they might finally have a chance to be relevant again. The biggest thing is that everyone is so skilled that this is the most competitive league in the world because there aren't many spots. So every person that's getting on the floor is really, really talented. Fans are tired of the same excuses and want to see a championship-worthy team built around their star players. So that's why I believe the front office is feeling the heat right now. In offense or defense, you breathe for a second and you're not looking at your man and she's on the other side of the court. Can't take a single possession off, whether it's on defense or offense, and I believe that the biggest thing is that Clark is giving them hope again. They won't just sit back and watch as the team wastes this opportunity. They have exceeded our expectations, and much more so than we anticipated coming off that historic draft. These rookies have had an incredible season, and it's not just Caitlin and Angel Rhea Jackson. Other rookies are killing it this year. The WNBA, in particular, the commissioner is doing a fantastic job of upsetting everyone, regardless of which team you're on in a recent WNBA playoff game. I was driving to a reunion with friends in 2016 when a distracted driver ran a red light and crashed into me. My car was totaled, and I had to have multiple knee surgeries performed. Insurance companies often try to pay you less than what you deserve after an accident, so I'm excited to introduce our sponsor, Morgan & Morgan, the largest personal injury law firm in the nation that can fight for the best outcome for your case if you become their client. Whether it's a minor accident or something more serious. I had an eye poke from Joni Carrington, which generated a lot of conversation. We appreciate Morgan & Morgan for sponsoring this video, and our veterans have really stepped up. Asia Wilson is having a historic season for the Aces, and Breanna Stewart is in New York, so she is frequently accused of racism while also trying to support players who aren't as marketable as Caitlin Clark. They make sure the insurance company doesn't shortchange you, and the best part is that you don't pay them up front if they don't win. You can start your claim now by clicking the link in the description below. I don't understand why she finds it difficult to give Clark the credit she deserves, especially when they keep bringing up Angel Reese. How much did the Olympics help or hurt you? Well, we take a break from the Olympics, but because we had so much momentum going in, including our All-Star game, which is our most watched All-Star game ever. The women, U.S. women won the gold medal, but it was a fiercely competitive game. We also signed a historic media deal since I was here last, and it was crucial for the league's stability. Caitlin Clark was the standout this year. Sorry, Angel Reese, but the numbers just don't support you, so I think it was a good thing to raise. I mean, I was in Paris, and the atmosphere in that arena for those games was unbelievable. France, Belgium, obviously, U.S., France being in both gold medal games, men and women, was so exciting because you had the hometown out there as well. Against France, where there were several WNBA players, we now have about 17% of our players born outside the United States, so we're kind of globalizing our player population like the NBA and other sports have. Since nobody was really considering investing in women's sports a year and a half ago, we raised a lot of capital, and now we're getting calls from private equity and everyone who wants to invest in women's sports. It's so ridiculous that it feels like a cowardly move. Let's move on to that question, which raises some sensitivities of rivalries between players in the case of global basketball. I believe it was a creative to global basketball. So once again, the commissioner just can't seem to give Caitlin Clark the credit she deserves without rambling on about everyone else. Angel Rhea, who recently had to shut it down due to a wrist injury, and Caitlin Clark, who is still playing Rivalry that dates back to their college days, presumably where some trash talking went on, but now it seems on some social media channels to have taken a darker or more menacing turn where race and sexuality have been introduced into the conversation. The media has also jumped on this bandwagon, trying to create a fake Rookie of the Year debate in which two of your most prominent players are involved, not directly, it would seem, but their fan bases are saying some. Angel Reese or other rookies are featured in the headlines of most articles about Clark's popularity, which is ridiculous. What is Angel Reese doing on the list of the 50 most influential people in sports? Are you serious? It's all about one player, and even the commissioner seems too scared to acknowledge that the one thing that's great about the league right now is that we sit at this intersection of culture, sport, fashion, and music. like the WNBA players are now truly looked at as kind of cultural icons. And when you have that, you have a lot of. The WNBA commissioner, Kathy Angelbert, has stated that she believes Angel Reese is just as important as Caitlin Clark for the league's growth. They want to watch games of consequence between rivals. They don't want everyone to be nice to one another. So the social media landscape is different today than it was in 1979 when it didn't exist. But you know what? There's no more apathy. Everyone cares. It's a little that bird magic moment if you go back to 1979 when those two rookies entered from a major college rivalry, one white, one black. Corporate partners are stepping up to endorse these players much more than they were 5 years ago because they see the benefit of having women and diverse women represent their brand. I agree that the rivalries between Manning and Brady are good, but the main one is that during the 2024 season, many fans credited Clark with the surge in popularity because of her incredible time at Iowa under Lisa Blur. I always tell the players, that if someone else is typing something in and you wouldn't ask their advice, ignore it. Frequently faced off against Reese and LSU, which resulted in conflicts between their fan bases when they were both drafted in 2024. The league saw a significant boost in visibility. However, Engelbert attempted to downplay this during her appearance on 60 Minutes, claiming that the league's popularity comes from various stars, including Angel Reese and other rookies. No one disputes that she is an incredible basketball player, but they still seem resentful and angry toward her. It seems like she's seeing data that I'm not. Keep up a narrative, especially after being accused of racism just last week. If she doesn't bring up Reese and the other rookie, she runs the risk of receiving negative feedback from some fans, which has led to physical changes on the court that don't get labeled as fouls, which the girls then deny were deliberate. Caitlin Clark always takes the high road and never points the finger, but it happened again. Engelbert acknowledged Clark as an amazing player with a sizable fan base who has drawn new fans to the league, saying that if you look at our historic season in terms of attendance and viewing Caitlin Angel Reese to Andrea Jackson Cameron Brink this class. If you don't know Christine Brennan, you're so woke that I don't know how she ever sleeps, so this isn't exactly someone from the Daily Wire or Fox News. So the fact that they're attacking her just shows you the reality of rookies we'll be talking about in generation. It's the fact that the reporter is not allowed to ask that question just in general, even if it was the first time, but after a series of events where we've watched Caitlin Clark get abused and taken out throughout the season and into the postseason. If it weren't for Caitlin Clark's draft class, would we even be discussing players like Angel Reese? Some might argue that Clark has essentially created the spotlight for Reese. Just look at the guests on Reese's podcast lately. But she seems to be thriving off the attention from Clark's critics. The WNBA continues to fail on this whole issue. They were given the greatest gift of all time, this rivalry between Angel Reese and Caitlin Clark. You use the word vitalize because you're right, but it's evident that she finds it difficult to give Clark the full credit she deserves without bringing others into the conversation. Included rookies in conversations about the success of the WNBA. She asserted that the league's expansion depends on a number of stars, not just Clark, but it seems like she's trying to keep up a narrative. Engelbert recently received criticism for being called a racist, so she knows that if she doesn't bring up Reese and other rookies, some fans may criticize her. She said she's obviously an unbelievable player, referring to Clark, and acknowledged her sizable fan base, which has attracted new fans to the league. Engelbert also stressed that no league is built around a single player and that rivalries are crucial for attracting new fans. Though many fans are now concerned about Clark's safety due to the intensity of the rivalry, Engelbert appears more concerned with avoiding criticism than dealing with actual problems. In early September, she was questioned about the racial divide between Clark and Reese's fan bases and how it could lead to fan toxicity. This situation has resulted in a lot of players criticizing Engelbert because they believe she hasn't sufficiently addressed these serious concerns. Let's face it, this league has a strong identity, and when Engelbert discusses rivalries, it somehow turns into a racial. Caitlin Clark is being heavily criticized this season, and it's difficult to ignore that fact. You'd have to be blind not to notice it. I believe that her sexual orientation may also be a factor, as she doesn't belong to that particular club, which has seen its fair share of drama over the years. But let's not ignore the fact that fans are paying a lot more to watch her than other players like Angel Reese or Aya Wilson, which speaks volumes. She is the main attraction this year, possibly one of the biggest draws. When Caitlin Clark performs, the viewership can be 2 to 4 times higher than when she doesn't. Engelbert's remarks seem cowardly because she doesn't acknowledge the obvious facts, and honestly, what do you think? Thank you for watching. Caitlin Clark is doing this at the box office, and instead of giving her credit, you guys tried to make it about the old guard. You guys never talk about the old guard like this. Did you watch the WNBA playoffs without Caitlin Clark? It's likely that you didn't, and it appears that not many others did either. The crowd size fell from 1, and she needed teammates to guide her at times and soothe her at others while still playing the game and being herself on the court and putting up with a lot of bullshit and noise off the court. Caitlin Clark can be used as a unit of measurement going forward when it comes to noise around the basketball game, because we will be able to say, well, this compares to what Caitlin Clark had to deal with because there was so much noise. The drop from 8 million to just 161,000 is not just a slight dip, it's a dramatic one. And she handled it. Now, we must wonder if the WNBA is having problems without its newest star. I love what you said about Caitlin Clark and the nonsense she had to deal with on the court. We remember that she has been the main attraction at the box office and that there have been a lot of storylines associated with her, most recently the whole thing with her cherry swoops. Even though it wasn't her, it was Cheryl Swoops. Let's take a moment to appreciate Clark. She didn't just enter the league, she made a significant impact. I bring that up because as a rookie, ladies and gentlemen, take this into perspective. Caitlin Clark led the league in scoring, field goals, three-point field goals, assists, steals, and minutes played at the end of the regular season. As Shannon says, in the end, you are one of those people, so we ended up 4th in the league in MVP voting. The Indiana Fever, a team that was virtually unknown, unexpectedly became a playoff contender because of her. They attempted to minimize her, saying, "What are you giving her?" Many people tried to keep Caitlin Clark in her place because what she's doing minimizes what she's done. You can't minimize what Mo, Candace Parker, Lisa Leslie, Lauren Jackson, Diana Taurasi, Simone Augustus, or any of the other great players have done, because what she's doing doesn't minimize what they've done. Imagine going from being overlooked to becoming the key player in such a short period of time. Ought to have given her the credit she deserved based on the ratings and merchandise.